Freedom Fighter Radio coming to you live from the heart of the Great White North, the heart of the true North, strong and free. I'm your host, Ordinary Joe. This is Freedom Fighter Radio on a Wednesday night. This is take two because our live broadcast earlier that started at 5:30 kind of got aborted because of all the technical issues. But we are going to redo the entire live cast today, but it's never been a better time to be communicating and connecting like this as freedomizers all across the world, primarily in Canada and the United States. Sorry for that banner that's still up there. So I took the banner out now, folks. But this is a continuation of our discussion for these last two, three episodes about a shared experience that we are having right now with our brothers and sisters in the fight and brothers and sisters in the faith in the United States of America, as America is about to enter their so-called golden age, coined by the president Donald Trump himself for his second term, a renaissance that the American brothers and sisters in the South are experiencing. I think it's only going to be good for Canada. And so the truth is, all of this posturing and fear mongering by the elite class, by the political class, by the media class in Canada, vilifying, demonizing all of this beautiful renaissance and golden age that our American brothers and sisters in the South is about to enter, will only spill over those blessings and those bright future, a beautiful bright morning star that our American brothers and sisters are about to experience. It's only going to spill over to Canada if we if our politicians, our leader, will do right by the Canadians. And so one of the biggest fear mongering, well, the top two that I can say on top of my mind, there's more than what I'm gonna describe to you right now. But the number one is the fear mongering with just even having a discussion regarding this proposed 51st state, or the annexation, or the North American Union sponsored by the people of Canada and the people of America coming together in one united um, force, right? With one currency and one border and one military and one tax plan or taxation scheme. The elite class, the political class, fear this so much. And the other one is the tariff that the Americans will impose upon the Canadian trade, the U.S. and Canada trade, a 25% tariff that the president have promised, and it looks like it's going to push through, and it will start on February 1st uh, in one of his media blitz from the Oval Office that he said yesterday. I think we have to embrace that, because I've been preaching these past 4 days that to allow Canadians to the, to to end our inflation and to allow Canadians benefit from Canada's wealth, I think we have to keep the oil. We have to keep the oil instead of selling the oil. If the Americans won't want to buy our oil anymore because there's going to be a 25% tariff on top of it, and it will be more expensive than locally produced American oil, we should embrace that, because that will only do good for Canadians if we can keep our oil and use our Canadian oil to fuel our economic engine. I think that's what we exactly should do in this country. But our political class, our leaders, our media class, our elite class, our upper middle and wealthy class is trying to hide this fact from you and I, ordinary Jane and Joe Canadians, that this is the answer for our economic dream, because the ones that will be affected are the oligarchs. The oligarchs will be the one who will be getting a big cut on their pay if we just keep the oil, and the people who will benefit from keeping the oil in Canada are the Canadian ordinary Jane and Joe like you and me, Canadian people, will be benefiting from that prospect. I think that's what we need to do exactly, and we're going to talk about that on this episode. I'm your host, Ordinary Joe. This is Freedom Fighter Radio. Thank you for tuning in. Please share, share, share. Let's get this show started right now.
Freedom Fighter Radio. What is up? Whoa!
Shout out to Freedom Fighter Radio. And Joe, you're doing great work, brother, and I love it. All right? Always.
I am Derek Sloan, the leader of the Ontario Party. You are listening to the Freedom Fighter Radio Canada podcast, only here on the Ordinary Joe Show.
Make sure you listen to the Freedom Fighter Radio on the Ordinary Show.
I'm Pastor Arthur from Calgary. You are listening to the Freedom Fighter Radio Worldwide podcast, only here on the Ordinary Joe Show.
I'm on Freedom Fighter Radio on the Ordinary Joe Show. That's quite a mouthful. Yes.
Hey guys, this is Chris Sky. Listen to Freedom Fighter Radio. They're here today, back in the blue, and so am I.
Hi, Ordinary
Mr.
Joe.
Poliev, how are you doing, sir?
Good. How are you, Ordinary Joe?
For the best price in town on your flooring, call Complete Flooring. The unique shop-at-home experience means samples are brought right to your door, and because we don't pay salesmen, there's no markup on our products. Complete Flooring does the installation of new hardwood floors and sands them using a dustless machine, making the sanding process cleaner. We also specialize in refinishing, staining, and custom staining of existing hardwood floors. Our Green Guard certified environmentally friendly finish is now available. Drying in a quarter of the time of regular stains means you can get back in your house sooner, and it will last longer. If you're a homeowner, general contractor, or a building or property manager, Complete Flooring services are available to you. So give us a call today.
I'm Pastor Arthur from Calgary. You are listening to the Freedom Fighter Radio Worldwide podcast, only here on the Ordinary Joe Show.
Consider supporting the OJTV production costs and be an insider member for only $3 a month. Go to patreon.com/OJTV Canada. Thank you for your continued support.
Canadians all across the country are sick and tired of the lies, the fear-mongering, and the hate speech they hear from the mainstream media. Download the free radio app, Freedom Fighter Radio. Click the link below, scan our QR code, join our mailing list, and get a free download of our Freedom Fighter Radio app only here on OJTV on The Ordinary Joe Show. Wednesday night, the 22nd of February. I'm your host, Ordinary Joe. You're listening to the Freedom Fighter Radio, coast to coast to coast. It's never been a better time to be freedomizing, never been a better time to be alive than now that we are about to see the golden age of our brothers and sisters in the South, the United States of America. And again, like I said, it will only be good for us Canadians if we do right by this opportunity to actually experience our own golden age as well. And I think the key to it, in my opinion, and I'll be harping on this message in the next few episodes, is really to keep our oil. And the political class, the elite class, the media class, the press, prostitutes, the media class, the network television, network radio, the entertainment industry will make you believe that the only way we can be rich is to export our oil, is to sell our natural resources to the highest bidder. Well, we haven't been doing that first and foremost. We are selling it to the lowest bidder. We're selling our oil at a steep discount to the United States, and we've been selling. I have a graph. I was not able to upload it on the Rumble Studio, but I have a graph, and I can describe it to you what it is, of how the um, the expansion of our export was steadily going up and up and up. And according to recent survey, I think the latest one was 2020, is that up to 80% of our oil produced in this country is exported to the United States. And 90% of all of our oil production is exported, and only less than 10% is kept for local market, for our local use. And that is both, that's regardless of who was in power. It was regardless if we have Harper, the conservatives, or the liberals in power at Ottawa. It's been the same for the last 30, 40 years. We've been selling out our natural resources, our oil, to the lowest bidder. We only have one customer, primarily is the United States. And we're selling it at a steep discount. Meanwhile, we're selling our own oil to our own local community, the people who owns the oil, the Canadian people, Canadian taxpayer owns the oil. But there are some people who would argue that it's actually the Queen. Now the King owns all of the oil of Canada. Do you guys agree with that? Is that how a sovereign Canada should be functioning? Is that all the oil of Canada belongs to one person or one family? So how is that better than being part of the United States, an independent republic like the United States, independent from the monarchy? If the monarchy is legally entitled for every drop of oil in Canada, every inch of land territory in Canada belongs to the king. Are you guys comfortable with that idea? That this is the kind of Canadian sovereignty? Are we being gaslit to believe that we have sovereignty? We are a country of the people? No, we're not. We're not a country of the people. We are a country that are subjects to the king unless we emancipate ourselves from that outdated, archaic type of so called constitutional monarchy. But how could we be called constitutional monarchy if we don't have a constitution? All we have is the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Is that a constitution? So there are many questions to be asked. And on the Freedom Fighter Radio, we're just exercising our freedom to think and freedom to have a conversation. That's all. We are not doing a propaganda one way or the other. You know, I would rather prefer, and within the freedom community, there is a back and forth accusation of disloyalty to the Canadian identity among the people who were saying, okay, let's open the discussion about this 51st state idea, or the North American Union idea. There's many versions of it, right? But just to have a conversation, you are vilified and demonized. So we are not promoting going one way or the other. We are not promoting to stay with the monarchy, but we are not promoting either to go with the United States as the 51st state of the great state of Canada, as Donald Trump is saying. But there are factions in our community who are saying we do not need to be the 51st state of Canada. What we need to be is to be the Republic of Canada, emancipated from the monarchy. That's a third option. Regardless, the problem is we're not having a conversation because all of those ideas are being shut down immediately by the political class, by the media class, and labeling people who wants to explore these idea or even just have a conversation as demons, as anti-Canadian, or as traitors. Right? I don't think you're a traitor or I'm a traitor just for allowing the freedom of speech, the freedom to think, the freedom to argue, the freedom to have our own thoughts and explore those thoughts and those prospects. I don't think that is anti Canadian. Real sovereignty is to be able to choose for ourselves. Have we chosen for ourselves to be part of the World Economic Forum? Did Ottawa, did the Prime Minister, did his cabinet, the Prime Minister's cabinet, both from the Liberals or the Conservative, have they consulted with the people of Canada? Do we want to be part of the World Health Organization? Do we want to be part of the United Nations? We are part of NATO. Did we want to be part of that? Were the ordinary Jane and Joe Canadians consulted or even asked for permission by the leader of this country, the elected leader who's supposed to be the servant in a real democracy, in a real republic? The politicians are the servants of the people, aren't they? Well, is that the status quo in Canada? Are we the servants of the people? Are the politicians the servants of the people, or are the politicians are served by the people? And if the people have any rejection of their ideas or their proposal or their mandates, if the people rejects their mandates that doesn't make sense or very harmful to the people, and we go to Ottawa and we honk our horns and we stay out in the cold just to protest and to express our dissent, then if you are the bosses, if we are the bosses and the politicians are our servants, our employees, how could Doug Ford send the boots of the the police to trample upon, and the boots of the stallion, the horses, the 800 or maybe 1,000 pound or maybe more, 2,000 pound stallions trample upon our elderly women for simply just for voicing out, singing our national anthem and voicing out our dissent, our displeasure, our disapproval of our leaders, our politicians' mandates, their moves. Did the conservatives stood with us really during the Freedom Convoy, or they're sticking their finger up in the air and kind of trying to decipher where the wind blows, and where the wind blows the hardest, they are going to position themselves on it, but not sincerely stand with the people of Canada, right? So again, the message is to keep the oil. This has been my message for this last 2 or 3 episodes, and I'm standing by it. And I'm really hoping that I can I can impart this idea to many members of the freedom community, which I know many of us, we think of ourselves as freedomizers, members of the freedom community, but we are still allowing ourselves to be gaslit and to be psyoped or to be brainwashed by so-called sophisticated economists and sophisticated politicians with flowery words that they make us think and believe that they know better for us. But economics 101 is all about supply and demand. and we have been deep diving on technocracy, right? And again, if you guys have been missing out on the past few episodes of the Freedom Fighter Radio, let me just reiterate why the Americans really value more resources. Well, the deep state, right? I'm talking about the deep state America, which Donald Trump is slowly but surely dismantling right now as he sits there on his second full day. Today is the second full day of his second term presidency, and he has done so much already in 2 days compared to the 4 years of lame duck Joe Biden presidency, who systematically destroyed America and the free world. Because what happened in America really happens with the rest of the world. When America opens its borders and welcomes in and brings in a lot of illegal migrants, or even in Canada, we have a lot of legal migrants, but they're coming from countries whose culture and core values are very hostile to our Canadian core values. When the politicians in America are hell on doing that to destroy America, you will see that the rest of the world are following through. Wokeness in America creates wokeness in the rest of the world. An anti American sentiment, anti nationalist or post nationalist ideology that the American left have embraced spills over the rest of the world. That's why Justin Trudeau embraces post nationalist Canada. And this is systematically, they destroyed Canadiana and nationalism in this country. And even people who brought the Canadian flag at the Freedom Convoy, or even going to celebrate Canada Day with Canadian flags, have now been touted or labeled, branded by the Trudeau ilk, the Trudeau libtard class, as extremist. Canadians flying Canadian flags are now, under Trudeau's post nationalist ideology, Canadians who celebrate Canada are now considered to be extremists. But whatever happens in America, whether you like it or not, I'm just being factual. I'm just stating the fact, and people will be upset with me in stating the fact, but it's true. Canada as a culture, we Canadians culturally detest being leaders. Well, the leaders of this country detest leadership because they can hide behind the neutrality, or because the politicians in this country are all in it for themselves. They're not really there. Doesn't matter. Liberals, conservatives, NDPs, Bloc Québécois, Green Party, whatever. Most politicians, except for the new breed of political parties such as Maxime Bernier's PPC and the Ontario Party and the New Blue Party and the some of the Western independent or new alternative parties that are have been um, being created recently. Except for those, vast majority of traditional parties, or 100% of all of them traditional parties, who has been leading Canada for decades, if not centuries, or 150 years old, 150 plus, right? Because I can't remember what year was that. Was that 2016, 2017 when we celebrated the 150 years of Canada? But since Canada was born, for 150 plus years now, our leaders have sold us out to the highest bidder that who will line up their pockets. The leaders of Canada sold Canada out to the international oligarchs, corporate corporatist technocrats. That's exactly what happened, folks. Please don't be angry with me or be upset with me. Just to state the fact. I know that to be a real freedomizers, we really have to swim against the grain. We have to swim against the current. Because if we toe the line of the mainstream media, the CBC, the CTVs of this country, or the federal conservatives and the federal liberals, if we toe the line of their narratives, we will never break away from this captivity that we are in. So this tariff that Donald Trump has been threatening Canada with, it is going to happen, folks. It is going to happen. But I don't think it is for the detriment of Canada. I think we should embrace this tariff, because if this tariff is imposed upon Canadian goods and services, then we can pressure our leaders. We can pressure our leaders to stop exporting our real wealth, because real wealth, both from traditional economic mindset, such as Henry Kissinger of 1968, tripling down American trade deficit with the world so that they can suck in all the natural resources of the world into the United States, as long as they keep the American dollar as the hegemonic, most dominant currency of the world. But even Henry Kissinger from 1968 during the Cold War, they understood that real wealth is encapsulated in within real valuable uh, commodities, not not fiat money, uh, not fiat money, not printed money, not even cryptocurrency, not even gold and silver, because gold and silver inflated price, in my opinion and in the opinion of many students of history, is the price of gold per ounce of gold and silver or any precious metal has been manipulated by way of hoarding. There had been a lot of leaked videos of metric tons by metric tons of gold bars being stored in some deep underground military bases, DUMBs. For what purpose? The purpose is to create the illusion of scarcity. And that is done with all kinds of commodities, including oil. When there is a fabricated sense of scarcity of any commodity, then they play around and manipulate the natural dynamics or mechanics of supply and demand. So we should understand that supply and demand is economics 101. We are the supplier of oil. We are the second largest supplier of oil, or we have the second largest oil reserve in the world, next only to Saudi Arabia. Let me rephrase that. We're actually the third, but the second is Venezuela, and the first is Saudi Arabia, right? But now that the Americans realize that they can actually tap into their oil now, I think the reason Donald Trump is going to drill baby drill in the United States, probably he read Jerome Corsi's book, The Great Oil Conspiracy. Because oil from underneath our feet is a renewable energy. It wouldn't be depleted, folks. Those are all psyops. Again, to create the illusion of scarcity. When you create the illusion of scarcity, you can jack up the price of any commodity that you want to manipulate the price of. That's exactly what happened with crude oil. They even demonized and vilified it and started calling it fossil fuel. There's no such thing as fossil fuel, because the oil that we dig from the ground was never produced by fossils. Again, folks, I will refer you to Jerome Corse's book, The Great Oil Conspiracy. There's a lot of scientific backing in that kind of rhetorics. My message for this week, and for I would say for the entire tenure of the second term of the Trump presidency, is for Canada to keep our oil. If we want to be up par, or if we want to truly experience our own golden age, as well as the American brothers and sisters in the South is about to experience their golden age, and it started on Monday, we can also start our own golden age by keeping our oil and keeping our resources in Canada. Folks, again, economics 101. Simple concept of supply and demand. If we flood our local markets with our own richness, with our own wealth, Canada's wealth that was given to us by the Lord God, right? And the king wants to claim it as his own personal possession. And the oligarchs of this country wants to claim it as their own personal possession. But this oil belongs to the people, isn't it? Isn't it true? Folks, don't go away. We'll be right back.
For the best price in town on your flooring, call Complete Flooring. The unique shop-at-home experience means samples are brought right to your door, and because we don't pay salesmen, there's no markup on our products. Complete Flooring does the installation of new hardwood floors and sands them using a dustless machine, making the sanding process cleaner. We also specialize in refinishing, staining, and custom staining of existing hardwood floors. Our Green Guard certified environmentally friendly finish is now available. Drying in a quarter of the time of regular stains means you can get back in your house sooner, and it will last longer. If you're a homeowner, general contractor, or a building or property manager, Complete Flooring services are available to you. So give us a call today.
Consider supporting the OJTV production costs and be an insider member for only $3 a month. Go to patreon.com/OJTV Canada. Thank you for your continued support.
Canadians all across the country are sick and tired of the lies, the fear-mongering, and the hate speech they hear from the mainstream media. Download the free radio app, Freedom Fighter Radio. Click the link below, scan our QR code, join our mailing list, and get a free download of our Freedom Fighter Radio app only here on OJTV on The Ordinary Joe Show.
I'm Pastor Arthur from Calgary. You are listening to the Freedom Fighter Radio Worldwide podcast, only here on The Ordinary Joe Show.
We're thinking in terms of 25% on Mexico and Canada because they're allowing vast numbers of people. Canada's a very bad abuser also. Vast numbers of people to come in and fentanyl to come in.
When do you think you would enact those?
I think February 1st.
Are you planning on giving notice of that?
I think we'll do it February 1st.
25% on both, sir?
Sir, on each.
On each,
yeah.
Yes.
There you go, folks. 25% tariff is what the incumbent President Donald Trump is promising. You cannot accuse Donald Trump or any president of the United States for creating a trade war when they put tariff on any imported goods and services into their country, because a tariff is not, in effect, it is a international or a foreign policy in effect. That's a side effect. a side effect of tariffs is the side effect of internal tariffs is a foreign policy. But tariffs are not foreign policies. That's an internal policy. It is within the right of the president, and it is within the prerogative of the country who wants to tariff any goods or services coming into their country so that their own local goods and services can compete in the open market, right? Because that is the stupidity that we have embraced starting the Clinton administration, and in collusion with Canadian leaders as well, have colluded with this idea of bringing China as a member of the WTO and allowing all of these cheap products from China, which are products of sweatshops and child abuse, child labor, to flood our markets, to kill our own industries. Meanwhile, all of these products that we have exported from or imported from China are laced with harmful uh, ingredients, harmful substandard paint and materials that are toxic, right? So both of our conservative and liberal party of Canada has both long embraced the idea of anti-protectionism, because the opposite of anti-protectionism is protectionism. And what is protectionism? Protectionism, an economic term, simply means to protect our own industries. And in a globalist mindset, and I heard Stephen Harper, folks, believe me when I say this, I used to be a very big admirer of Prime Minister Stephen Harper until I find out everything that he's done according to globalist globalist ideology. How many times have you heard Stephen Harper, Stephen Harper, and again, regardless, conservatives, liberals, they all demonize the idea of protectionism because we live in an integrated, globalized economy, they say, right? We live in a globalized economy. But that is double speak, because the same people who rejects the idea of protectionism. Again, let's define what protectionism is. Protectionism is an economic concept that is a pol- political policy, a government policy to protect its own industries, protect the wealth of the people for the benefit of the people. That is what protectionism is. But somehow, the term protectionism is a boo boo, a bad word in Ottawa. But that is a social engineering move to create this concept of to vilify protectionism. Protectionism means protect your local farmers, protect your local industry, protect your manufacturers so that it can it cannot be taken over by foreign forces. That's what protectionism is. Justin Trudeau, Stephen Harper, um, uh, Paul Martin, Brian Mulroney, old Trudeau, um, who else? Some recent prime ministers. What's his name again? The 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 last liberal prime minister before Stephen Harper. I can't remember his name. They are all against protectionism. They are anti-protectionist. All of them, because they say that we are in a globalized, in a global market. And they're saying that if we protect our own industries, then what's going to happen is other countries will protect their own industries and we cannot enter their market. But that is a big psyop that we have all been suffering for centuries, well, decades, and almost centuries because they were 150-year old. And I will go back to this story, this anecdote that happened in 1968 with Henry Kissinger, tripling down on the trade deficit of the United States with the world. And the reason is they understood and realized real value on earth is not represented by currency, fiat money, not even by precious metals, not even by cryptocurrency, not even by paper assets such as bonds and stocks and derivatives. Those are all just concepts of wealth, but real wealth is is contained in real commodities, real products that can actually make your life better. Lumber, fisheries, farm products, land, oil, power, electricity. These are real wealth. But to give up on your real wealth to export all of your natural resources, meanwhile depleting our own local market, depriving our own local communities, our own local tax-paying citizens to enjoy the wealth of the land, the ordinary Jane and Joe Canadians are not benefiting from this wealth, God given wealth. It's only the oligarchies, the oligarchies, the elite class, the wealthy class, the political class, the media class. They're the only ones who's benefiting from this non protectionist globalist trade. The way we are going to make Canadians wealthy is by keeping our resources first to benefit our own people and then export our surplus if we have any surplus. But we are 40 million Canadians. Why are we paying more at the pumps than our customers? We are the suppliers. We supply the oil. Why are we paying $1.50 at the pumps? We should be paying like 15 cents a liter at the pumps just to cover the refining, the extracting, and the delivery of this oil. Because who owns the oil? Again, I'm going to nonstop reiterate this question. Who owns Canada's oil? Is it King Charles? That is unfair. He owns every single drop of oil in Canada. Is it the oligarchies? Is it ExxonMobil? Is it Shell? Is it what's that other name that's made in Canada? Petro Canada. Does Petro Canada owns the oil? And who owns Petro Canada? Folks, we all understood and learned, and there's someone who was commenting. I see a comment from Dan West in one of the pages. He says, we can't spend oil. Somebody has got to buy it first. And this is the psyop, this is the mental brainwash that we are suffering with. We think that the only way we can be rich is if we are rich with fiat money, a figment of our imagination. That's how US dollar, Canadian dollar, British pounds, the only reason they have any sort of value is if they can truly have the confidence of the people that it represents real value. Those paper money are supposed to be representation of real wealth. That's why before dollars and currencies were invented, they were called banknotes. Why were they called banknotes? Because the bank have gold stored in their vault. And the paper note that you hold in your hands represent a portion of the gold that's supposed to be stored in the vault of the bank. It represents real value. Supposed to be. until Richard Nixon took the American dollar off the gold standard. And what happened to the gold standard? It became a petro dollar that is backed by the oil standard. But the Americans don't own the oil of the world. They are importers of oil. That's very interesting. How could the American dollar be a petro dollar or backed by petro? By the way, let me ask you, if you're true Canadians, what is the Canadian dollar backed up with? Why is there value in the Canadian dollar? What is the underlying asset of the Canadian dollar? Does anybody know? Some people say it's our GDP. Some people say it's our resources. But if we are giving our resources away, right? And we are exchanging our resources for American dollars or international dollars, international currency, folks, this has been decades long, if not centuries long, big, fat psyop, tricking people into giving up their birthright for a bowl of soup. This is nothing different from what happened in biblical stories regarding Esau and Jacob when Esau gave up on his birthright for a bowl of soup. This is what we're doing in Canada when we're giving up on our resources, exporting our resources while depleting our own supply for our own local market, for our own use. If we flood our own local market with the wealth of oil that Canada owns, why are we paying $1.50 at the pumps? There's no reason for that. If we're a truly wealthy country because of our resources, and some people say, hey, our Canadian dollar is propped up by our resources. Is it really? Because we're exporting 85% of our oil. We're keeping 15% of our oil. Much of it is going to industries and the people who really needs the oil to heat their homes and to drive their cars to work are paying steep price. And so our leaders have sold our oil to the Americans. I'm not blaming the Americans because it's not the Americans benefiting from our oil, really. It is the industries and the oligarchs and the deep state and the swamp that is benefiting from our exported oil mostly because of all the cuts that the middlemen are lining their pockets with the wealth of Canadian wealth, but they're depriving Canadians from benefiting from Canada's wealth. It's all economics 101, the law of supply and demand. But somehow, somewhere in our history, the people has been deceived and people continue to believe that in order to make Canada wealthy is by selling our resources and not keeping enough for ourselves. So my brother, Freedomizer was saying, how can we buy with oil? Somebody got to buy it first, then we can be wealthy. All right, folks. If you have a lot of food and you feel like the only way I can be rich is to sell all my food, 95% of my food, I'm going to sell it in exchange for money, but my own children will be hungry because I sold all my food in exchange for money. Are you indeed wealthy when you're hungry because you sold all of your food in exchange for money? That's why the Bible said that man shall not live by bread alone, but in our industrialized psyop mental retardation, we all believe that the way we become wealthy is to inflate our money, print more money, or bring in more money from other inflated currencies of the world and give up on our natural resources, the technocrats understand the future of our economics under technocracy, the new international economic order understand that the real value and the future of currency is on energy credits, which mean natural resources, fisheries, farm products, lumber, oil, energy, electricity. These are real value. Money is not real value. Real value is what God has provided on earth. Let's listen to Polyev how he responded to Donald Trump's threats.
The question was, should oil and gas and other energy be part of our response to the Americans? The reality is putting Canadian tariffs on American energy wouldn't do very much because they buy a hell of a lot more oil and gas from us than we do from them. In fact, our entire trade surplus with the Americans is the result of oil and gas. When President Trump complains about America's trade deficit with Canada, the concern he's raising really is that Canada is selling oil and gas at a massive price discount to American refineries and LNG plants that are able to massively profit at our expense. It is a ripoff. We're ripping ourselves off with this approach. Because of fanatical and stupid environmental extremists in the Liberal government and throughout the country, we are forced to sell almost all of our energy exports to the Americans. So the answer to that is to stop being stupid and start building LNG plants, pipelines, refineries, upgraders, and other energy infrastructures that we can sell our energy to the world without going through the Americans. That would allow us the independence and the sovereignty that we need to support our economy free from these threats. But I would remind our American friends that they benefit from our affordable, reliable energy, and the alternative is Venezuela, Iran, and other foreign dictatorships. Why would we not want to have a North American energy market that enriches us both?
Well, I remember my back and forth with Pierre Polyev about August. Oh no, about Christmas break last year, 2023. Christmas break 2 years ago, 23. Just before he went on his Christmas vacation, we had a very intense back and forth regarding Canada's oil. And he insisted that oil is an internationally priced commodity. So when I was saying, why don't we regulate the price of oil for Canadians so that we don't pay steep premium price in Canada for our own oil, he accused me of being a communist. Well, not me directly, but he is accusing that kind of mentality as a communist centralist communist kind of ideology. Is it really? Because my follow-up question with for Pierre at that exchange, and maybe in the next coming days I will play some of those exchange between me and Pierre Polyev again for our listeners, because this is really near and dear to me. I just visited Alberta last August with my family, and Alberta is a beautiful country. It has been assaulted by Ottawa very, very steeply. And but oil is not exclusive to Alberta. Alberta has a lot of oil, but all 13 provinces of this country has oil. But all of those regulations are the ones that is assaulting the production of oil in this country. But we are oil rich country. But the point is, my follow-up question to Mr. Polyev in November, or maybe I think early December 2023, I asked him, what about just flooding our own local market with oil our own oil first before we export the surplus? Why are we exporting 90% of our oil production and leaving our own local consumption or our local local supply lower than 10%. Does it make more sense to keep most of our oil and then just export what the surplus, the extra that we do not need after we fill in our own demands, local demands first? And his answer was, well, the answer to that, Joe, is to build more refineries and drill more wells. That's what his response is to me. But my point is, people are already poor right now. People are impoverished by expensive oil right now. Let us remember, this is another basic rules of economics. When the oil price is high, everything, all the commodities in the market, all the products in the grocery, everything that you see in the shopping malls, everything that you need, even housing, everything is expensive. But when oil is cheap, everything is cheap. Food will be cheap, transportation will be cheap, lumber will be cheap, because everything that you see in the shopping mall and in the grocery store have been transported to that place through diesel trucks or diesel locomotives. So when the price of oil is cheap, all the products in the market are cheap. When the price of oil is steep, every product and service will be expensive in that country. So it really doesn't make sense that we have to wait to create more refineries and dig more and drill more wells before we can tell the Canadian people, well, you got to hold on a little longer until Pierre Poilievre becomes our prime minister and he digs more and drills more wells so that we do not lag behind our export. Who is benefiting from our export? Because if our exports making Canada wealthy, then you and I should be wealthy, right? But only the oligarchs and the elite class and the political class, all of them in the upper elite class, they're the only ones who are getting wealthy. The wealthy getting wealthier. The richer are richer, the poorer becomes poorer. That is a third world country concept, and it's happening in Canada. Why are we letting that happen? Folks, there's more to this that we need to talk about, but let's take a short break. And I want to talk about the Project Stargate. This Project Stargate will create a lot of energy in the United States. They will not need any of our electricity. They will not need any of our oil. They are drilling, baby, drilling big time in the United States. There's no point in trying to push our oil to the United States. They are energy independent. They're going to be oil independent. Folks, don't go away. We'll be right back after these short messages.
I'm Pastor Arthur from Calgary. You are listening to the Freedom Fighter Radio Worldwide podcast, only here on the Ordinary Joe Show.
For the best price in town on your flooring, call Complete Flooring. The unique shop-at-home experience means samples are brought right to your door, and because we don't pay salesmen, there's no markup on our products. Complete Flooring does the installation of new hardwood floors and sands them using a dustless machine, making the sanding process cleaner. We also specialize in refinishing, staining, and custom staining of existing hardwood floors. Our Green Guard certified environmentally friendly finish is now available. Drying in a quarter of the time of regular stains means you can get back in your house sooner, and it will last longer. If you're a homeowner, general contractor, or a building or property manager, Complete Flooring services are available to you. So give us a call today.
Consider supporting the OJTV production costs and be an insider member for only $3 a month. Go to patreon.com/OJTV Canada. Thank you for your continued support.
Canadians all across the country are sick and tired of the lies, the fear-mongering, and the hate speech they hear from the mainstream media. Download the free radio app, Freedom Fighter Radio. Click the link below, scan our QR code, join our mailing list, and get a free download of our Freedom Fighter Radio app only here on OJTV on The Ordinary Joe Show.
Welcome back to the Freedom Fighter Radio. I'm your host, Ordinary Joe. It is Wednesday night, the 22nd of the beautiful year 2025 of January 2025. There's never been a better time to be a freedomizers because the golden age started last Monday in the United States, and it could also be our golden age in Canada too, folks, if we just wake up from the psyop, from the delusion, the brainwashing that we have been subjected to for many decades in this country. So one of the deception that the political class, the government class, the media class have been telling us, that although there's some truth to this particular principle, it's an economic principle that to expand the economy of a certain country, the population also need to expand. That's true. That's why we see a great expansion of Chinese economy, because there are 1.5 billion people as today, right? So the more people you have, the bigger your economy is. But that is directly going to be assaulted by the Great Reset, the fourth industrial revolution. Remember, we are on the third industrial revolution right now. Some people will argue that the we are already on the fourth industrial revolution, and the one that the Great Reset and Klaus Schwab and the globalists are trying to propose, the transhuman technocratic society that they want to roll out, would be considered as the fifth industrial revolution, right? AI and robotics and all that should be fifth. Anyways, technically it's called the fourth industrial revolution. Right now we are on the third industrial revolution, and it's a matter of fact inside the concept of the third industrial revolution that the more people your country have, the bigger your population, the bigger the expansion of your economy the ability for your economy to expand. That's true. That's a real concept of economics within the third industrial revolution status quo where we are right now. But the problem is the fourth industrial revolution is just around the corner. AI has already made big, big waves. Artificial intelligence is becoming more ubiquitous. There are billionaires and oligarchs who's really vying for creating AI intelligence. Robotics is so advanced in our age. All of this labor are going to be replaced by robotics and AI. And that's their agenda. That is their goal for the fourth industrial revolution, the Great Reset. That is exactly what they want to happen. So in Canada, we have a very murky immigration policy, and we've been bringing in immigrants from hostile nations, hostile to our Canadian values. Again, I will re-emphasize that this is something that I agree with Stephen Harper and his handpicked Senator Junan Varga, whose family is my friend. He chose this very first Filipino senator to the Senate during his tenure or during the Harper years, because the conservatives at that point realized that we need to expand our population. I would rather that the Harper administration, the Harper government, made gave more uh, funding to the policies of helping increase the birth rate in Canada, as opposed to resorting to the second tier of population growth uh, proposition, which is immigration. But nevertheless, that's what the policy under Harper. They said, we have to increase immigration if we are going to expand our economy. And the only thing that Harper did right, and again, people accuse me for saying this because I'm Filipino, but it's not because I'm Filipino. I'm just stating the fact of an economic concept that if you are going to use immigration as your solution to expand your economy via way of increasing your population, you might as well bring immigrants from countries that are not hostile. There's no hostility to your Canadian core values. 'Cause we share a lot of Christian, family, entrepreneurial values, so that's the right move. It's the right move for Stephen Harper to appoint June and Verga into the Senate and and collaborate with the, I believe at that time it was the female president, I forgot her name now, but the female Philippine president who worked together with Enverga that allowed a massive influx of immigrants from the Philippines that by 2019 Filipino Canadians have reached the 1 million mark already. But then right after the Harper years, Trudeau came on, and then he opened our country to Khalistans, Pakistans, Hindus, Muslims, and many of them have very hostile take to Western ideology, Western freedom. They hate America, they hate the idea of the West, they hate Canada, and they want to turn our country into the next Khalistan. That doesn't make sense, folks. Why are we bringing people to our country who's hell bent on destroying our Canadian culture, our Canadian heritage? So, from a purely academic point of view, I am in favor of bringing migrants from the Philippines because the Filipinos are not hostile against family values and Christian values and entrepreneurial capitalistic values. Because the Philippines is like a mini USA. It has the three branches of government and it is very capitalistic. And it's very Christian. But instead, our liberal government prefers to bring in the sword wielding Khalistans, the honor killing Islam. Why? Everything that Trudeau did to this country is to the detriment of our wealth, our well-being, our mental health, our physical health, and our safety. The Trudeau government systematically flushed Canada down the toilet. Literally flushed Canadian economy, Canadian heritage, Canadian values, Canadian wealth down the toilet. So, the fourth industrial revolution is just around the corner. The third industrial revolution still argues that we need to bring in more people to expand our economy, we need to expand our population. But the fourth industrial revolution is actually aiming to replace the workforce with AI and robotics. So last night, Donald Trump welcomed three technocrats into the Oval Office and they announced a $500 billion budget for a new project called Project Stargate. Let's listen to the announcement right here.
Together, these world-leading technology giants are announcing the formation of Stargate, a new American company that will invest $500 billion at least in AI infrastructure in the United States, and this will include the construction of colossal data centers, very, very massive structures.
This is not just for business. AGI is coming very, very soon. And then after that, that's not the goal. After that, artificial super intelligence will come. This is the beginning of our golden age.
I think this will be the most important project of this era. As this technology progresses, we will see diseases get cured at an unprecedented rate.
So imagine early cancer detection, the development of a cancer vaccine for your particular cancer aimed at you, and have that vaccine available in 48 hours. This is the promise of AI and the promise of the future.
All right, the three CEOs that we witnessed that in that short clip are the CEOs of SoftBank, the CEO of Oracle, and the CEO of OpenAI, Sam Altman. And Larry Ellison, the CEO of Oracle, and the CEO of SoftBank his name is Masayoshi Son. Masayoshi Son, a genius, and he's the one who's going to supply $500 billion to this project. And in this, folks, let me just show you another clip of the SoftBank CEO and what is his goal. Why is he hell bent on supporting this $500 billion infrastructure to build AI in the United States with this Project Stargate? Folks, do you remember Stargate, the movie Stargate? And in biblical concepts, Stargate has a lot of UFO and demonic connotations. But let's listen to another clip here. Masayoshi Son talking about as you can. But let me just before I play this clip, just let's remind ourselves with that last clip that we just saw. Masayoshi Son is so excited that this Project Stargate, will bring about AGI, which is artificial general intelligence. This is like a more a person that's more intelligent, 100 times more intelligent than the biggest genius, Einstein. Albert Einstein, 100 times smarter than Albert Einstein, is AGI, which will be the product of this Project Stargate. But according to him as well, AGI is just the first step. The second step would be super AGI, or a super artificial intelligence. This is scary, folks. And like I said, the art technocrats of the world has come aboard the Trump train, and they're hijacking this Trump train, which is supposed to be the train for our renaissance, our golden age. And they are relabeling or rebranding the golden age as their fourth industrial revolution. Here's another clip, and then we'll talk about how this affects Canada and all of these warmongering about trade wars and all that. Does not make any sense whatsoever, because America will never in any way need any of our oil, any of our energy, or any of our lumber, or whatever we can produce. Folks, we are just like 1% of what America needs. We can only supply 1% of what America needs, even if we go full throttle. And America is self-sufficient. America can produce all of these things that we export to America. So forget about trying. We just listened to Pierre Polyev. They're saying, "Oh, we got to create more refineries, and we have to find more customers for our export." Forget that. Forget that. Let's because the fourth industrial revolution is coming faster before you blink. It's right here already, right now. But let's listen again to another psyop. And we're listening to psyop and propaganda here, folks. But you just have to really give it a grain of salt and and activate your spidey sense whenever you listen to some of these art technocrats you have to understand, you have to read between the lines. So I'm going to play it for you, and then we can analyze it on the other side of this clip.
I think we have to revive this passion with the robotics, with bring the AI, as you say, bring AI intelligence into the robotics. The Astro Boys, in Japan we call Tetsuan Atom, my favorite cartoon. You cannot just have the muscle. You have to have an intelligence so that the robot can talk, robot can have a passion as a friend. I think that kind of front end challenges is very, very needed here.
Masa, what are you most excited about for the future of AI in Japan? What do you hope? What is your dream?
Well, look, as you say, I am passionate about AI robotics. I think the AI medical solutions, I think medical AGI is definitely coming. I think a lot of new agents, So we have Line, we have Yahoo, and other services, PayPay. We can make many specific AI agents for helping Japanese lifestyle. That cannot just come from US. We know about Japanese behaviors, the cultures, local intelligence, and APIs to many, many sites in Japan. So that I think agents, I think you mentioned about enterprise AI agents. Definitely I support that. I'm excited about that. But also, I think personal agents will really come to every one of us. Bill Gates said the PC on every desktop. Steve says, smartphone on every your hand. I think now we should say AI agents to everybody. So each of us should have our own personal agents.
That's right.
That will help make our plans for trip, vacations, right? Educations.
And it follows you your whole life.
Yeah.
Could you imagine an AI agent that knows you your whole life?
Exactly. Our grandkids, they grow up with an iPhone from age 1, right? They talk, and every time they see some picture, they do this, even with a still picture, right? Because they are born that with 2 fingers they think every picture can be blown up.
In the future, they'll see a picture, they'll talk to it.
Right, they talk.
Yeah, they'll hope it talks back. You can ask a
they
question.
will have agent, their personal agent since the age of 1, and their personal agent, like your second body, see you, grow together with you, knows everything. You're sick, your health.
Your tutor.
Yeah.
Since you were a child.
Exactly.
Yeah, remembered everything that you read, remember everything that it taught you, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Your personal Aristotle.
Totally.
There's so much to unpack from that clip, folks. That was a back and forth interview between NVIDIA CEO from Taiwan, and again the short guy there, the Japanese guy, is Masayoshi Son, who is the CEO of SoftBank. SoftBank is going to be supplying $500 billion of investment to create Project Stargate, the biggest complex of. It will be the home for AI, AGI, and super AGI. So we are in the AI era right now, but the collusion of all these technocrats. Elon Musk is part of it for sure, because Microsoft is part of it and OpenAI is part of it. Larry Ellison of Oracle, and now the money guy, which is Masayoshi Son there. Can you hear from the tone of his voice how he is so excited to bring about the fourth industrial revolution? This is the great reset. You will own nothing and be happy about it, because you won't require in the great reset world, you don't need money, because everything will be provided for. You don't need a job, right? The jobs will be extinct, because all the robots and the AI will be doing all the jobs that are required in society. So, what is for many decades, many centuries, humans have been conditioned to feel like their worth and their purpose is tied up with their jobs. And when people don't have jobs, they feel like they don't have a purpose. They don't have any meaning. The meaning of life is tied with their jobs, which I am against. That it shouldn't be like that, but that is the matter of fact. That is the status quo of the vast majority of world populations right now. Their meaning in life, their purpose in life is tied up to their occupation. So when the AI and the robots take away the occupation and they will do it for you, what will be your meaning? The Harari guy, what's his name again? Yuval Noah Harari. He said that his proposal for the useless eaters. He says we gotta give them VRs and drug them up and let them play video games all day long. That's going to be the purpose. But do you guys remember the Matrix? What happens to humans? The plug-in humans, the humans that are plugged into the Matrix. The reality, their mind reality is in a simulation, but the reality, their physical reality, their bodies are the only purpose for their body is to create energy as batteries, to extract their oil, their bodily fluids, to create energy out of them. That is not very far from the truth. It might not be literally that, but that's the fourth industrial revolution. They want humans to just be staying home, locked down, and extract all kinds of human value from humans while they stay home. That's the idea of the fourth industrial revolution. But they are going to package all of these uh, technology as, oh, it is be going to benefit humanity. I lost all respect from that Nvidia CEO. And although, my other topics that I am researching on is the conflict in the Nine Dash Line by the South China Pacific Ocean there, the Pacific Sea, the South China Sea. I mean, the conflict that's going on there right now. I would like the Filipinos to protect Taiwan, our neighbors to the north, because China is threatening to invade Taiwan. But if the Philippines become before, I think the Philippines should be the very first, before Canada become ambitious of becoming the 51st state. I think the Philippines should be the 51st state of the United States, because if that is the case, then there will be world peace, because China will never invade Taiwan if the Philippines is an American territory. So, but that's a conversation for another day. I'm actually looking to guest on other people's podcasts to explain this concept. But we're running out of time here. But let me close with this: Masayoshi Son and the two other CEOs that uh, got the audience of President Trump last night at the Oval Office in their announcement of a $500 billion project called Project Stargate. Do you know that AI requires massive amount of energy, of electricity? So in this $500 billion complex that they're building, they are going to build their own energy source, their energy generation machinery. And this electric generator that they are going to produce for this AI complex will be twice the output of the entire requirement of the entire country of the United States, the kilowatt output that they will be building for this AI complex can produce twice the amount of kilowatt hour than the entire requirement of the entire country of the United States. So I'm saying all that because this Project Stargate, we have to understand in Canada that this Project Stargate will give the United States ample and more than ample surplus of electricity, all the electricity that they want. And here, Dogford is threatening to cut the electricity from Ontario to 100,000 homes in the U.S. Dog, my goodness, man. You're all bark and no bite. Do not start a trade war with the United States. You cannot win. And you know what? They don't even need to make a war with you. They just cut you totally out of their radar. The United States can afford to ignore Canada altogether. Zero trade. We are the biggest trading partners with the United States. But if they decide tomorrow they don't want to have any trade whatsoever, not even a single cent of trade exchange between United States and Canada, it will not affect them one bit. But it will impoverish Canada if we continue to this status quo paradigm on economic structure that we are built in. But if this tariff happens and we keep our resources for Canadian consumption, then we will be rich as well. I totally believe that. And that's my message that I will relentlessly keep on broadcasting here on the Freedom Fighter Radio until I can get the message across. Folks, I just ran out of time and I ran out of breath and I ran out of water. So I'm going to end this episode for tonight, but we'll pick up on this tomorrow because there's so much more. There's so many things going on right now. We cannot cover everything in one episode. So there's Thursday, tomorrow, another episode of the Freedom Fighter Radio. I hope to see you tomorrow. God bless you all. I love you. Have a good night. Pray, pray, pray. Let's have our own golden age in Canada as well. Love you all. See you tonight. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Freedom Fighter Radio. What is up?
Whoa! Shout out to Freedom Fighter Radio and Joe. You're doing great work, brother, and I love it. All right, always.
I am Derek Sloan, the leader of the Ontario Party. You are listening to the Freedom Fighter Radio Canada podcast, only here on the Ordinary Joe Show.
Make sure you listen to the Freedom Fighter Radio on Ordinary Show.
I'm Pastor Arthur from Calgary. You are listening to the Freedom Fighter Radio Worldwide podcast, only here on the Ordinary Joe Show.
I'm on Freedom Fighter Radio on the Ordinary Joe Show. That's quite a mouthful. Yes.
Hey guys, this is Chris Guy. Listen to Freedom Fighter Radio. They're here today, back in the blue, and so am I.
Hi, Ordinary
Mr.
Joe.
Polyev, how are you doing, sir?
Good. How are you, Ordinary Joe?
For the best price in town on your flooring, call Complete Flooring. The unique shop-at-home experience means samples are brought right to your door, and because we don't pay salesmen, there's no markup on our products. Complete Flooring does the installation of new hardwood floors and sands them using a dustless machine, making the sanding process cleaner. We also specialize in refinishing, staining, and custom staining of existing hardwood floors. Our Green Guard certified environmentally friendly finish is now available. Drying in a quarter of the time of regular stains means you can get back in your house sooner, and it will last longer. If you're a homeowner, general contractor, or a building or property manager, Complete Flooring services are available to you. So give us a call today.